We didn't get a chance to talk to you after the game, but what did you think of Benny breaking the all-time record for rushing touchdowns?
It's awesome for him and for his individual goals, but just bottom line, I had no idea until I saw it on something later, I don't know, Twitter or something like that. And that's a great accomplishment, and I heard him in one of his interviews talk about the offensive line, the tight ends, and the receivers, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Mark mentioned yesterday that you had some conversations earlier this year with Benny about being more disciplined and things. Just how did that go, and what kind of impact has that had the last year?
Just after about 7 games, we just kind of did a comparison. You always go back, you self-scout, you look at what your players are doing, and I just kind of shared with him some information, and the information that he saw, and we talked about it and how we could get it better and what it might do. And he takes coaching very well, and Benny wants to be great, and it's the kind of guy you want to coach, and he's definitely responded.
You've coached a lot of great ones. Will he fit? Does he have the potential to be one of those guys?
I don't think there's any question. It just depends on how he grows. It's hard when everybody's telling you you're great. So it's my job to help him stay humbled, and he does that. And 18, 19, 20-year-olds, it's tough, especially with the media and the social media and so forth. And that's part of it. He's got to handle it, and he's got a chance to be as good as he wants to be.
What do you like about how he's running right now? I mean, when you look at the film.
Well, he's a little bit more patient, and his technique has been phenomenal the last 3 weeks. That means from his alignment to his first step to just everything, and that's what he's doing. He's always been physical. He's always physical, and he always runs with great passion. But I think what he's done is he's done a great job of fixing the little things. Coach always talks about that, and it's huge. Even at the running back position, where you align, patient on what we're doing schematically, and I think he's done that.
You've scored on the final drive of the first half and 2 4-minute offense the last 2 weeks. What does that do to the locker room at that time?
I can't remember the statistic, but we have one of our goals is to steal points at the end of the half. It's a huge statistic that if you score right before half, that you've got a really good chance of winning the game. And those are crazy stats, but they mean a lot for what you're talking about, the confidence and kids getting cranked up, and that's a great thing that if we can continue to do that.
Well, you responded by scoring as soon as you came out in the following drive too. Is that kind of momentum?
Yeah, I think part of it is that. I think part of that finding out what they're doing, and the coaches have done a great job of having a plan when you come out in the second half. Coach defers, and it's our job if he defers to go out in that second half and make that count. And if we lose it and we get the ball in the first half, we've got to go down and we've got to try to make something happen. And I think that's important to start out the game or start out the half.
Mark kind of agreed on yesterday when we talked to him that Garrett Johnson's had kind of an underrated year and has made a lot of big catches for you guys. Is that something you've noticed as well?
Absolutely. We moved him a lot around this last week too. He got to get outside, he was inside, and he continues to make big plays for us, and he's made some big third down catches for us. As well. We haven't hit the deep ball as well this year. That you'd like to get an opportunity to hit a few of those down the stretch here. That'd be nice. But he has made some big plays.
How important were the contributions City gave you on Saturday?
They were huge. It allows Benny not to have 67 snaps. And Saeem had a great week last week. I knew after Friday he was going to play a lot and he was going to be a part of it. It all comes down to doing what you're supposed to do during the week, locking in, focusing, and he did that. He's great. Got a great start to this week as well.
Eddie, I asked this to Mark yesterday. Can you tell during a week's preparations if kids, like you said with Saeem, if they're going to have a good week, an explosive week? Can you almost tell if the offense is going to be explosive that week, and so maybe you're not surprised as much as the performance as other people are?
I think individually you can a little bit as you get to know the players. I'm not quite sure though about the whole group as a unit. There's times I've come out in my 31 years and I've left on a Friday or before the game going, man, we're going to whip their tail. And we've gotten our tail whipped. And vice versa. I'm going, they're not ready, and we score 45 points. You know, so it's really hard. But I think individually as you go during the week, you certainly know by position who's locked in and focused and who's ready to go.
Kirby Smart, when he had his press conference yesterday, he credited you for being really creative and mixing up things that don't always even look like the Wildcat. Is that fun to be able to plug in different guys and to be creative in that way out on the football field?
Yeah, I think, you know, Mark challenged all of us, you know, as a staff to, you know, make sure that we're being creative and we're switching it up. And that, as we developed that last year, that has been fun since the spring, adding new formations and different personnel groupings and bringing guys into the formation, guys out of the formation. And so, yeah, it is fun. It's fun to be able to do that. See, it's a lot more fun when it works.
Do you add something every week?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That package has grown each week, whether it be a formation, whether it be a motion, whether it be a different person in a different spot in the formation.
The 7-yard touchdown for Saheem, was that a new wrinkle?
It's been out there before, just it hadn't been out there in a while. But yeah, they've seen it on film at some point, just they hadn't seen it in a while.
You had to like how they executed.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. You know, they took the, you know, I call it eye candy, you know, and the fake reverse part of it, and a couple of them, you know, they took the eye candy. And so that was really good. And our offensive line came off the darn football and got after it.
What do you like from those 3 tight end sets that you've been running?
You know, it creates extra gaps for the defense. That's probably the biggest thing. You know, and I get a lot of that from Mark. You know, as Mark comes in and he's talking and he tells us what, hey, this bothers us. We have an issue with this stuff, you know, and so a lot of that comes from Coach Stoops and him being a defensive guy and what bothers him. So that's how we try to attack it.
Auburn had a few really good and big plays against Georgia. Is there something that you saw there that you can exploit this week?
Georgia is as good as there is in the country on defense. Their front seven is really good. I tell you, they are coached well. You can see the way they play with their hands, their technique. It's really good. The secondary is really good too, but I mean that front seven, they're the real deal. And I think that Auburn, you know, they got them on a couple of things that were misdirection. But you know, I think every week you have something that you feel like you can exploit. Just like they've got stuff on us that they know that they can exploit. So you got to try to dial it up at the right time.
Do you feel like you have more dimensions now this time of year compared to this time last year in terms of, you know, what you want to do?
I do. I think we're throwing the ball better, you know, like more efficiently. I think our RPOs have been better, and you know, I think Steven was 13 of 17 this last week, and I think he was efficient the week before that, and you know, so I think we are better that way. And I think this group that we've put together, that now we're a little bit more stable up front, and guys there's a little continuity there. I think that's helped us too in the run game.
The Benny that we see is it's never enough. You know, I ask him, hey Benny, you had this great achievement. I want more. I want more. Does that push the whole staff and the group and even Saheem? Does that push them to have that attitude as well, or does everybody already have that attitude?
I don't think everybody has that attitude. I think they all want it, but he'll express it because he wears a lot of it on his sleeve. He wants to win. He's competitive. He wants to do well. He's all about the team, and he's got his individual goals, and he wants to achieve those. And I think that's great. But he is about winning and helping this football team in any capacity possible.
Everybody good?
Thank you.